I'm 13 News Now meteorologist Evan Stewart. It is Monday afternoon, August 5th, and we have the latest on Debby. Of course, waiting on that 2 o'clock advisory coming in from the Hurricane Center, but that's really the big story across the tropics. Debby, which again made landfall around 7 a.m. this morning through the Big Bend of Florida near Steinhatchee, Florida, and it is moving slowly towards the north-northeast. It was a Category 1 hurricane when it came ashore, but it is now weakened to a tropical storm, and that weakening trend will continue over the next day as it moves across North Florida and into southern areas of Georgia. And then a lot of questions as we get beyond, say, about Wednesday, where the remnants of the storm could go. Right now, the official forecast calls for the storm to move just off of South Carolina and then move back inland, whether it's a little bit farther inland towards the mountains of Virginia, North Carolina, or right along the coastline remains to be seen. But here's the latest forecast track from the National Hurricane Center. Again, this is the 11 o'clock advisory. Now, a tropical storm, winds of 70 miles per hour, moving very, very slowly now to the north-northeast at 8 miles per hour. And that slow movement is one of the big concerns through South Georgia and the South Carolina coastline, because a slow-moving system can drop a lot of rain over the next couple of days, and that's what we're watching here, especially with Tropical Storm Debby. Again, here's that forecast track towards the northeast and eventually towards the east, and then that curve to the north. And then notice, even by Saturday, still looking at the remnants as a tropical depression here across parts of coastal Virginia. The big question mark will be where exactly it comes back on shore, because there are not a lot of steering currents with this system that'll be developing over the next few days. We don't have a lot right now, and it's really not going to change until we get more towards the weekend. So that's why we're looking at just this slow movement. Remember, the cone of uncertainty is where we expect the center of the storm, or what would be the eye, to move. So that center could move all the way back here closer to Charlotte, North Carolina, or Asheville, and back up into Ohio and West Virginia, or it could be out into the Atlantic. Of course, if it's a more inland track, the storm would be weaker. We'd be on the east side of it, where there is just a lot of rain on the east side of the system. If it's closer to the coastline or out over the water, it would be stronger, and we could see some more significant impacts, especially through the Outer Banks and coastal areas. That remains to be seen as we head here into Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So again, a lot of questions for the impacts here on Hampton Roads later this week. Certainly, we're looking at some heavy rain. Speaking of heavy rainfall, here's that forecast track, and these are all the different spaghetti models, and you can see how they all sort of stall it out here. Some here off the coast of Georgia, some closer to the South Carolina coastline. Still some question where it might come ashore, but all the models, even into Thursday, call for this stalling, and it could be anywhere from central areas of Georgia all the way up into North Carolina. The American model, a little bit different than the European model as to the exact forecast track, but all the models generally in agreement. It's just where exactly that movement back ashore ends up being. And then eventually it gets picked up by a cold front towards this weekend, and it accelerates off towards the north and east. But here's the rainfall forecast for the next 5 days, and you can see that bullseye here over the low country of South Carolina. 15 to 20 inches of rain, nearly 2 feet of rain is possible around Charleston, and well over a foot through the low country of South Carolina and Georgia. While you work upstate, we start to see those rain chances going down. But even here through central and southern North Carolina, from Raleigh down towards Fayetteville, back towards Charlotte, Morehead City, Cape Fear, and Cape Lookout, looking at the potential of 7 to 10 inches of rain. And here through the southern areas of Hampton Roads, 4 to 6 inches of rain, 2 to 4 inches of rain here through our region. And that's why we're watching for the potential of flooding. Now, it's very rare that we have extreme flooding forecast by the Weather Prediction Center, and that's what this level 4 risk is here in red through the Florida Panhandle up through southern Georgia and South Carolina. This is through tomorrow morning. Of course, remember, on the forecast track, it still has it down here across South Georgia as a tropical storm around 8 a.m. And then eventually, Tuesday morning into Wednesday morning, that's when we're looking at the heavy rain through South Carolina around Charleston. Wednesday morning into Thursday morning, still heavy rain working its way up into areas of North Carolina. And even here in Hampton Roads, the potential for possibly some flash flooding from heavy rain, and that would extend into Thursday, likely into Friday, and possibly Saturday as well. Again, it all depends on the forecast track of Debby, something we'll again be watching very closely over the next several days. Elsewhere in the tropics, there is one tropical wave here down towards the Lesser Antilles working its way towards the west. Only about a 10% chance of development here in the eastern Caribbean over the next several days. But once it gets into the central Caribbean or the Gulf of Mexico later this week, there is a possibility of development. But again, that would take it towards the Yucatan Peninsula or southern Gulf of Mexico. But a lot to watch in the tropics. And of course, we'll keep you updated on air and online with the latest on Debby.